And but before that, before he started the presentation, I want to tell you that our event this week. So basically, this is almost the last event for this week because the last one will be Halloween party, and it will be on Saturday. It's open for public. You just need to buy the ticket, but we have a special price for the member. So for the ticket itself, right now for the member it's only 80,000, and for non-members it's 100,000. It's already included with our first drink. So if you have a friend and you wanna invite a friend as well to come to the party, please. The more the merrier. And also we are going to have a startup weekend on 17th to 19th of November. So if you want to join, feel free to come. And you can check all the information on our Facebook page. And this is the last time. Sorry? The last time I heard it will, we still have like 10 to 12 spots left for startup weekend. So get your ticket soon. And yeah, I present you Akira.
Thank you. Do you want to say something first, Dirk? Or?
Yeah, maybe just one word. We're from Wagon, which is started running our first batch January 15 down in Canggu. If anybody is interested to go the extra mile to join the bootcamp, talk to me afterwards. For now, I give the word to Akira to run you through the HTML CSS workshop.
Cool. Yeah, so today we're going to be learning about how to do a landing page in 2 hours. Oh, right, I'm sorry, 1.5. It says, yeah, this workshop was originally designed for 2 hours, so some of this stuff won't be able to go over there in the slides, but yeah, we're going to try to fit everything in if possible. So before I start, this is a participatory workshop, so everyone needs to have a text editor so they can do some of the stuff that I'm going to be showing. And if you just go to sublimetext.com.
What's the Wi-Fi in here? Like, today's my first day, sorry. So
The Wi-Fi?
It's the Wi-Fi password.
So it's only for member. Are you a member?
I just paid the 30 a month, but I don't know if that
You can just go to the front desk.
I will try to get you one.
Okay.
So this is kind of hard to read. Sublimetext.com. So just go there and download this editor. So this is what we will be working in to code everything. So you can just let it run and download while I'm talking through this first part. I have been coding professionally for about like 6 years or so. Hello. I've worked at a couple startups. I've done some freelancing. I have previously taught at a bootcamp in New York City. Right now I'm working on my own startup. Yeah. And so I just want to get a sense from everybody else here what your level of experience is. Can you raise your hand if you've done any coding before?
Not really.
Okay.
Just WordPress.
Well, yeah, anything that counts. Does anybody here not work online? Okay, everybody, yeah. Cool. So for you guys who just arrived, what I was just saying is this is a participatory workshop. So if you want to grab your computers, we're going to be doing some actual code. And so I've asked everybody to download this text editor at sublimetext.com. Cool.
Right behind you. Right behind you is in the chair.
Oh, that's also a good
So yeah, I just want to go around the room really quick and ask what everyone actually does. Yeah. Let's start with you.
Digital advertising.
Cool.
I'm working online, trying to make a startup now for consulting.
Cool.
I'm studying for user interface design.
Cool.
I'm a student, but I'm a communications intern here at Google, so I'm looking to
Oh, sorry. I live in New York City. I'm just here for a few weeks. I work for the corporate firm KPMG. I want to start my own thing, so secretly here. So there's some other KPMG info.
Cool. I worked at General Assembly,
Oh, you did?
so
Okay.
you should try it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know General Assembly. I had a startup of my own called Odyssey. I just left and now I'm a startup coach.
Cool.
I'm starting to sell products on the internet.
Okay.
Hi, my name's Gary. I work on Bitcoin.
Oh, cool. So we're just saying like what we do, or whatever brings you here that you do. Yeah.
Yeah. Me and my wife, we are psychotherapists, and we are starting to live designing and psychotherapy process, and we are building right now our website.
Okay.
And
Cool.
Yeah, that's why.
Okay. So everybody has this, right? I don't need to keep it up here.
No.
Okay. Cool. So first, I'm going to just talk about like what we're going to be doing in the workshop. So the first thing I'm going to talk about like some concepts and some theory, just some overall like high-level view stuff, and then I'm going to start typing some stuff. And then I'm going to let you guys type for yourselves. And so the only thing is that it's going to be super tempting to, when I'm typing, try to type after, like while I'm typing, but you're going to miss some stuff. So the way the workshop works is best is if while I'm up here typing stuff, you guys are just listening, and I'll also be explaining some other concepts as well. So yeah, cool. So let's first talk about some definitions of what we'll actually be doing. Does anyone want to tell me what a landing page actually is?
So like the first thing your customer sees after you've met them, and you say, here's, you want to learn more, you give them this address, and this is the first thing they see.
Totally. Yeah, so the general definition of a landing page is just any page where your prospective customer goes and first encounters your offering. And more broadly, you set up a landing page in order to accomplish a specific business objective. So whatever it is that you want that user to do, give you their email, watch your video, listen to your podcast or whatever, right? This landing page is the first opportunity you have to tell them about that thing. So a good landing page has 4 attributes that make it successful. One is a clear value proposition. So that just means that on the internet, everyone's attention span is very, very short. They say you have about 5 seconds to communicate to that person exactly what you're offering and why they should be interested in it. The second thing is clean design. So that doesn't necessarily mean that the thing looks beautiful, but just that the font, the colors, all of the design elements help you communicate that value proposition like as quickly and clearly as possible. So like no flashing things, no sounds that play automatically. You're just like trying to communicate that one thing like super quickly and clearly. The third thing is a call to action. So someone lands on your page, you're going to tell them about what it is, and then you're going to ask them to do a specific action. Again, people's attention spans are short. If you don't grab their attention and then specifically ask them to do something, they're not going to do it. So don't wait for them to like kind of interpret what their next step is. You want to just explicitly tell them what it is and tell them what to do. The fourth thing is CRM first milestone. So that just basically means that in internet marketing speak, your landing page is the top of your sales funnel. Has everyone heard the word sales funnel? Yeah. So it just means that like out of all your total group of prospective customers, you know, there's 100,000 prospective customers, maybe 10 of them are going to buy or actually pay you money or actually do the thing that you want them to do. So you're kind of like slowly like getting rid of people and keeping the ones that are the most interested, right? Cool. So there are some services out there that will do all these things that we've been talking about. In this workshop, what we're going to be doing is kind of learning the hows and whys. If all you wanted at the end of this workshop is something that just works and you don't have to think about it very much, you can actually just use one of these services. If you want to know how this stuff works, or if you want to build your own, we'll be going through the process of doing that. But of course, like it's a little bit more involved than just 2 hours, right? This is kind of like we're going to show you the all the tools and concepts that go into something like this. Does anybody have any questions so far? No? Cool. So we're going to be doing what's called a front-end static website. And so that usually encompasses 3 things, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. We're not going to be doing JavaScript today because that's a whole other subject unto itself. But I'm just going to go through really quickly and explain what all these technologies are. So first, like a static, you might have heard static and front end and that kind of stuff. Really quickly, like it basically just means that everything that we're going to be doing is happening inside the browser. We're not going to be talking really about the internet, right? So there's inside of your browser itself, there's a whole world that your computer executes that happens. And then when we talk about, so that's the front end with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And then there's a back end with another computer server that happens over the internet. So all we're going to be doing today is just everything on your own computers. And that's why you're downloading a text editor, so you can edit text files on your own computer. Yeah. So the 2 things we're going to be doing are HTML and CSS. HTML is the structure and the content of the page you're building, of your document. Yeah, it holds the actual like words you see on the page, and then it also holds kind of the structure onto which we're going to put our CSS. So CSS takes your HTML structure and it applies visual styles to it. It doesn't change your content. It's just a way to change the way that your content looks and is laid out on the page. Mm-hmm.
If I have a question, if I'm using for my landing page tool, for my site,
Mm-hmm.
Squarespace,
Mm-hmm.
Do I need to learn how to do all this coding and all this HTML?
You don't have to. I believe Squarespace lets you edit all that by hand. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you don't have to. You're going to see that it gets quite involved.
Yeah.
So like I was
I
saying,
saw some
yeah.
code injections and some.
Yeah, but just also the process of building the page gets quite involved. And like I was saying, if all you want is to not think about it and just say like, you know, I just want to tell people about my service, well, you'll see. If you, yeah. But I mean, like one of the advantages of learning about this stuff is if you want to change one thing, this is the start of having the knowledge to be able to do that, right? Mm-hmm. Because if you go to Squarespace, everything's pretty set. Yeah. So JavaScript, which we're not going to get into today, but I'll just explain what it is. So this is the layer that is, JavaScript is more of like a real programming language. So it has logic built into it where CSS and HTML do not. So that's like, if anyone's done any programming, that's like loops and conditionals and the level of logic, the level of like decision making inside the program that you don't get in HTML and CSS. So this, what we use this for is to take all of that HTML and CSS that we built and make everything more dynamic. So that could mean animation, that could mean communication with the internet, basically anything that makes the page more dynamic than it already is. Yeah. And then if we have time, we're going to go into CSS libraries. So that's like Bootstrap. You might have heard of Bootstrap. There's other ones. Google has one that's called Material Design. That's this one. Facebook has one. A lot of the big companies are writing these libraries. But they just encapsulate a lot of the things we're going to see in CSS and kind of do it for you. Yeah. Cool. So I'm just going to run through the setup really quick just to show you guys. And then I will let you go at it. So I'm going to create, actually, I'm going to create a new index HTML file. Your default HTML file is always called index.html for some reason. And then I'm going to create a style.css file. Okay. And then I'm going to create an images folder. Cool. So that's the basic setup. There's a web page for this. It's at, is that easy to see? Wagon.github.io. And there's just a bunch of instructions that you can follow here. Yeah.
Akira, can you just point out the URL again?
Oh,
Setup.
Wagon.github.io/landing. Sorry? Yes, yeah. So just go ahead and go there, and it'll have the instructions to follow to do what I just did, just to set up all the files and create that one folder. So you're also going to need Sublime Text also. Which is a text editor. You can just Google it. So this is what we're going to be using to work on the code itself. These markers don't work. So there it is again, if in the case people can't read it.
Create a new folder here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I go file, new file, it's creating it. It seems to be creating
I'm actually not super. What happens if you Command S? Okay. I would just find the. It's easier to do it from within Finder. So yeah, there you go. So this empty. Yeah, just rename it to index.html. There. Okay.
Where should I go?
Okay, so you already have. So you can just drag. Go into Finder. Okay. Oh, you don't have. Oh, you. Okay, wait. Did you download this already?
Yeah.
Okay. How do I get some? Where's your downloads folder? Okay. Oh, did you?
Yeah, I do.
Hmm. Weird. Oh wait. Where did it go? Okay. Well, you're going to have to be a little bit behind. Okay, so there it is. That one, yeah. You can just double click on it, yeah.
Actually, I don't think I can download this software. So I find my list and I should have brought another laptop because there's a restriction.
Oh, okay.
I don't think I have that when I brought it. I have another one though. But
Yeah.
I'll bring it for the next one.
Okay.
I just realized that.
That's right. Yeah, that looks good. Yeah. Yeah. So we're only working on this first set of instructions. This number one. We don't need to go past that. Who's finished with the instructions?
The first one, yes.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
No, that's fine. You can come on over.
Okay. All right. In the interest of time, I'm gonna move on. We can get I'll give you more time to set everything up as I'm talking through things because you won't. Yeah. This is just the setup step. So. Cool. So now I'm going to talk first about HTML itself. So like I was saying, this is the structure and the content of the page you're going to be building. And so HTML was originally designed for text documents before the internet. Digital text documents. So if anyone remembers like having the Microsoft CD encyclopedia.
Yes.
Yeah, whatever that was called.
Encarta.
Encarta, yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. So that was like a hypertext document that had links and it had a document format, right? But you didn't download it over the internet. You just bought it on a CD, which is crazy. So anyway, it's meant to format documents. So if you think about like, every document has some common features. It has headers, it has tables, it has lists. electronic documents have links so that they all interlink with each other. So if you think about some generic like amount of text, HTML just gives you the ability to give that text meaning and some basic formatting. So if you want to say that this one is like a header, this one is a subheader, and this is a normal paragraph, you can apply that HTML tag to it, and the browser will give you some automatic formatting. So your header, right, like the default is always like your main header is always going to be bigger than your paragraph text, right? Some like really simple stuff. So with CSS, the thing that happens with that is that we're applying visual styles. So it's kind of hard to see. So we can make the font different. We can make it a different color. We can change the size a little bit. But notice like the content is the same, right? It's not going to change any of the words that appear on the page. So I'm going to talk really generally, like high-level view of the syntax of HTML. Does everyone know what the word syntax means in this context? Okay.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
Yeah. Syntax is the specific characters and order of characters that you need the instructions that you need to give the computer in order for your code to run the way you want it to. And code kind of looks like this. It has a bunch of like random characters in it, right? These are the exact instructions we're giving the computer. So the start of an HTML tag is this angle bracket, and then you have the name of the tag, and then you'll sometimes have the attributes. Those are composed of names and values separated within equal sign and double quote. And then you close the opening tag. You have some content, and then you have a closing tag. And that's pretty abstract, but we'll see an example of that. Well, yeah, we'll see some examples now. Before we make anything appear on the page, we need to have some like boilerplate, some stuff that identifies the file to the browser. And so let's just go in here. Some of this stuff, doc type, I'm not going to talk a lot about what exactly that does. It's kind of a leftover IE Internet Explorer compatibility thing. So the first real main tag is an HTML tag. This is our first and most basic tag. This just tells the browser that we're on an HTML document. So yeah. So anything right? We said that we had the opening brace, name of the tag, close of the brace, and then everything else in between is the content, right? Or what's inside the tag. Yeah. So the next one is body.
Do you want us to do this while you do it?
No, right.
I
like,
just wanna make sure.
yeah. Definitely don't type. I'm just going to show you guys the stuff, explain it. Yeah. I'm going fast, and you wouldn't be able to keep up anyway. Yeah. So the next most important thing is the body. So this is the thing that's actually displayed inside of our page. So if I just start typing some stuff, we'll get to see it. Oops. Can everyone see that? Stuff.
Yeah.
So this is like the most basic thing you can do, right? So then we need a couple more things before we actually start writing the things that are going to go inside the page. And so all that stuff goes inside of the head tag. So the head tag is everything that's about the page that isn't displayed on the screen. So one of those things is the title. So the title of the page, so I put stuff in here, right? Might be a little hard to see. But when I refresh the page, this text up here in the tab changes. So everything that's in the body, right, is within this white space. That's our actual, the body of the page. The other thing that goes in there is this meta charset UTF-8. All this does is tell the computer to deal with characters outside of the ASCII characters. So like that basically means like anything with an accent, anything emojis, it deals with emojis. It deals with like Chinese characters, Japanese characters. Any like non-standard like English letters and numbers. So this is like a standard thing to have in the head tag.
Does it work?
So you can see like the text editor is auto-completing all this stuff for me because it's so common that no one wants to write it by hand. So there's a couple other things you can put in the head tag that I'm not going to put in there, but we'll just look at. One of them is the meta description. So that, like I said, everything in the head tag is about the page but not displayed in the page. So if you want, when Google crawls your website, if you want to specify exactly what text they display in a search result, you can set this head tag, and then it'll display in a search result. So that's the same for any other service that wants to know about your page. It's the same with Facebook. So you can set some tags that tell what image and what text to go in if someone's sharing a link. There's ones for Twitter, there's ones for Pinterest, there's ones for all the services where you would share links, basically. So yeah, I mean, there's this idea that like your web page is for humans to read, but it's also for everyone else on the internet to know about, right? So everything in the head tag allows you to kind of set that content. Cool. So let's get into some real examples. Actually, so before I get into the example, so I'm going to build a page. It's I want to set a pretend startup for us to build the page about. So for those of you who have worked in startups, like the pitch of a startup always goes like, it's A for B. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? So like Airbnb is like Uber for rooms.
Yeah.
Okay, so you take an like a already established startup and you say it's this for something else. So let's just think of a new startup right now. So let's give me a name of a established tech company service.
Uber.
Uber for
Uber massage hand tools.
Uber for hand tools. Okay, awesome. Okay. Does anybody want to throw out a name?
Handy.com.
Handy. Okay. Cool. So I'm going to change the title of the page. Cool. Cool. Sweet. Okay, so the first example we're going to see is an anchor tag. That's a link. So let's go over the syntax again. Open angle bracket, the name of the tag, anchor, href equal to, and then a URL. I won't go over this other part. And then we have the text of the link and then a closing tag. So that corresponds to our like generic syntax, right? Angle bracket, name of the tag, attribute name, attribute value, content, closing tag. So I'm going to write our call to action on our landing page. Make this a little bit smaller. So yeah, so this is our text, right? Let's see what it looks like.
Beautiful.
Halfway there.
Sign me up.
Does anybody have any questions about this so far? Cool.
No. I just want to see.
Oh, and right, so the link works, right? So if we click on it, it takes us to wherever we've set inside of this text here. Right, that's the href. Cool. So I'm just going to go really quickly through a couple of different HTML tags. There's titles, so those are the header tags. There's 6 different sizes of them. There's the paragraph. We already saw that. This is like the generic text area. You can specify specific words within a paragraph with the M and strong. So M is like italicized. Strong is like bold. And this isn't just to change the appearance of the words. This actually, like if the Google bot comes and looks at your page, you're also telling the computer that these words are somehow more important than the other words you have in your paragraph. There's lists, unordered lists and ordered lists. Ordered lists will give you a numbered list of things starting from the top and working your way down. There's an image tag. It's pretty self-explanatory. Source equal to is where you get your image from. We'll see that in a second. Yeah, don't worry about like remembering all of these things because we're going to demonstrate these too. Cool. So I'm going to start writing the text of our landing page. Let's do it in caps. So it usually gives the name of the thing and then like a caption. And then a call to action. And then below that, we usually have some cards that have each feature of the service. So we can do, I don't know, what would be some features of our startup?
Drilling.
At low cost. And then let's see what an image tag is going to look like. When I write an image tag, I need to be able to reference an image from somewhere. So in the instructions here, you can just download these icons. That's what I'm going to do. Yeah, cool. So when I have the image saved, I can reference it inside of my HTML. Oh wait, where did it go? Oh. Cool. Let's just make up 2 other features here. What else do we want to say about it?
Inventory.
No inventory. One more thing.
Trade with your neighbor.
What's that?
Something, trade with your neighbor
Yeah.
or something, right?
Trade with friends. Cool. Cool. Okay, so now we have our basic HTML. Yeah, so I'll let you guys work at this for like 10 minutes. There are specific instructions inside of the landing page. In order for this to move fast, I would just say to copy and paste this. And then just go ahead and go in and change the text. Yeah, so you can see it working. But you still have to download the images yourself. So like I was doing, you can just right-click on the image inside of the web page and say Save As. Save image as.
How do I open it in Chrome?
Say that again?
How do I open it in Chrome?
Which one?
So
Oh,
I open it.
yeah, so that one you can just open a new tab. And then you should just be able to drag it right from here into the window. Yeah, I think. Maybe you can't. Okay. You can drag it from the folder that it's in. You can go here, right-click on that. Can you right-click? Yeah, oops. Oh, it's okay. Yeah, let's open it in Finder, sorry. No, weird. Sorry. Okay, there it is. No, that's not it.
Where's the picture? Oh, I have to download it first. To save the image folder. What?
Oh, there it is. So do you have it on your desktop?
I moved it. So now where would it be?
There it is.
What is that?
Oh, yeah, that's it. So all you need to do is just drag it from Finder into your, yeah. Maybe you haven't saved it. To Command S. So then just reload the page. Yeah, there you go. So it looks like your images aren't loading, probably because you don't have, it doesn't look like you have an images folder. Yeah.
So I make a folder for that?
You don't have to. You can just change each of those. This word images there in the code is referring to the images folder.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. You could just also make it. It's probably easier.
If I want to like italicize something in a paragraph, where would I put it in?
The opening tag goes next to where you want it to start, and then the closing tag goes where you want it to end. Does that make sense? But it's EM. EM. Yeah.
be?
Oh, you need the closing tag slash there.
Which is where?
On the closing tag. On the other side of.
That?
No. See how this one is closed? This is the closing tag. Sorry.
Oh.
Yeah.
No again.
Hmm.
You have to save the images into the images file. And then copy paste and then save. Yeah. And you can edit.
Looks just like this.
Yeah, I don't know why the M isn't working, but the strong is working. But that looks correct. Mm-hmm.
This part. Oh, there it goes.
Oh, we're not there yet. We're not there yet.
Well, in the beginning we did something with this though.
Mm-hmm. I haven't done that yet. Oh, I've created it. Yeah, that's in the very first instruction. Oh, yeah.
Do this. Oh, okay.
Cool. Does everyone at least like have a working page? Yeah. Does anyone not have a working page? Okay. Cool. So I'm gonna move on. Or did someone go to the bathroom? Okay. All right, I'm going to move on. So the next thing we're going to talk about is CSS. So like I was saying, CSS is the visual style that we apply to the HTML that we've already written. So we have the structure and the content, the format of the document. And so what CSS does is it takes that and it applies all these visual styles to it. So one way that you can see that work is to take, like, for example, this landing page thing. I can use the Chrome Developer Console to, if I just do right-click inspect, and I get this window. And I can take out the CSS. So this is what a page looks like when we don't have any of these CSS applied. It kind of looks more like what we've already done. So you can do this any page with the Chrome Developer Console. You can do it to your Facebook, any Facebook page. You can do it to Google. You can do it to whatever, and it'll kind of like, yeah, look more default like this, like kind of like weird. Cool. So I'm going to start writing some CSS. Before I do that, I need one other thing, which is this guy. That tells my HTML page where to find the CSS. CSS. Okay. So just this link in the head tag will tell my file that I can start writing, that it knows about that file now. So the generic CSS syntax looks like this. You start with the selector, which is the way that you select for which elements on the page you're going to be applying these styles to. And then you have curly brace. And then you have a style property and a style value.
So selector, you'd be replacing that with something like H1?
Yeah. There's actually, the selectors go really deep. Yeah, we're going to be seeing some of them. But yeah, we'll see that in the next slide. So yeah, so this is what a real example looks like, right? So here the selector we're selecting for is H2. So that means any H2 tag on the entire web page, we're going to be applying these styles to. So here we have a style color that refers to the text color. I don't know why they just didn't say text color, but and then we can set like things like font size. We can set font family, which is the kind of font. Yeah. Let's just see that really quick. So I can do H1, color, red. Oops, don't need that. Okay, so this is going to select every H1 on my page. Can everyone see that? Oh, it doesn't do that.
No worries.
Yeah. Cool. So that's the basics of CSS. And so there's a bunch of, we can set the color of things in a bunch of different ways. And there's not just text color, there's background color, there's border color. There's a bunch of different properties you can apply color to. And there's 4 ways to apply color in CSS, or 4 ways to specify color in CSS. You can name it, which almost no one does, but like there's some default names of colors. You can specify hex color. Is anyone here a designer? Or does design? Okay. So some of this will be familiar, like there's hex colors and there's RGB colors, which is red, green, blue. So you specify a value for each red, green, and blue. And then there's one for red, green, and blue with transparency. So usually when you're creating a company or doing anytime you're creating like a set of design assets, you're selecting a color palette. These are like kind of like 5 default colors you use within your web design, but also not just your web design. It usually extends into any print materials, any other kind of like design elements of your entire company, right? So the Nike swoosh is, everyone knows it's like black on white or white on black, right? It's kind of like this default color scheme that they've selected. So there are certain ways to get to select those colors. One of them is this guy. I don't know how to pronounce it. But people submit their own color schemes. So it's kind of cool. The other more scientific way to do it is with this color.adobe.com. So if anyone knows, like, has done design or art, like selecting colors is about distributing them across the color wheel in a way that's kind of like, there's a mathematical way to do it that's kind of aesthetically pleasing. So in this tool, you can just kind of select a single color, and it'll this tool will rechange all the colors to match that, depending on what kind of rule you set over here.
It's also very fun. It's addictive.
Yeah, yeah. You can waste a lot of time. Yeah. So I'm just going to use one of these like ones that are already made. Does anybody have a preference?
I won't worry about that. It's nice.
This
I won't worry about that. It's nice.
This one?
Sure.
Okay. Cool. So so I can start actually styling this page a little bit. So what we want to do when we have a page like this is kind of start to set the styles for like all of the default elements on the page. So the way that we can, there's a way to select every single thing that's on the page, and that's by doing the selector as body, right? So we're saying everything inside the body tag, apply this set of styles. So I can set a default font size. What else? I can set a default font color. I don't know if any of these are dark enough. Let's try to set this as... yeah. Okay. Let's see what that looks like. Cool. I don't know if it set my color. And then what else do we want? Let's set the font family. I'm just going to set it to sans serif. Actually, yeah. I'll talk about this in a second. Okay. And then we can change. Let's make this the header font color. Cool. Okay. I think I'm going to leave it like this for now. Yeah. So there's some other. Let's talk about some other default or high-level CSS styles. Yeah. There's background color. You can also set a background image. So there's the one that I just did, which is font family. So you can set the generalized font family just to get your computer to give you the default kind of font in that, in that group. So serif, sans serif, and monospace. So serif just means that the font has these little wings on the sort of end bits, right? Sans serif doesn't have that. And then monospace, that's the font that you're seeing inside of Sublime. It means that each letter takes up the same amount of space as every other letter. In a regular font, for example, like I would normally take up less space than like A or M. Yeah. So you can set these really wide like font groups, or you can also set a really specific font like Arial or yeah, any well, the font selection gets more complicated, but yeah, you can specify very general. You can get really specific as well. So there are also ways to control attributes of the font itself, size, obviously, the line height, and also the letter spacing. So these are all like print conventions. So CSS gives you the ability to adjust all those things. If you want to make something look more important, letters, like if you put a little letter spacing in there, it makes it look. I think it looks like, ooh. Like,
I love it.
Yeah.
I would share tools on it.
Yeah. Cool. So font color, we already went over that. There's font decoration, which is you can do underline, you can do line through, text to line, center, left and right. You can do font weight, so light and bold, everything in between. And that just depends on what font you select. So some Helvetica fonts have all of these, and some other default fonts only have like maybe 1 or 2 or 3. Yeah. So we have seen like the strong tag does do some of this stuff. And I would say the distinction is that when you put it inside your HTML, it means you're giving specific meaning to that piece of text. Like I was saying, like it's when you write it in that way, it's more for Google or something, for a non-human to understand like what this document means, versus just some style that you apply. Cool. So the other thing we can do here is just apply a default style to all of our images. So they look a bit weird right now. We can apply a default width to them. Yeah, let's make it a little bit bigger. Okay. Cool. All right, so yeah, this is the part where you guys follow along. That's the part 3 of the workshop page. So again, you can just copy and paste. I would say that's probably the fastest, and then just go ahead and go in there and change some stuff. Change the font size, change the font color, change the font weight.
Where do we paste it?
So you're pasting this guy, right? This body of text. This goes inside of the style.css file.
But it's not from the Betty one, right? Not like not from the style.
Oh, so this thing, just so you guys know, is a code comment. So this is just for other programmers to read. Anything that goes / star, anything between the other closing slash and star is ignored by the computer. So it's just like for your own use or your teammates' use. So you can just copy and paste this right in to your file.
All right, I copied this in here, but how is that connected to this?
All right, so that's the other thing that I showed in the head. So there's another code snippet in the, go back to the this guy. Yeah, that guy.
Oh, I just didn't put that at the beginning.
Yeah, so you already have a head tag. So just put it inside the head tag. Yeah, just that one line. Yeah, exactly.
No matter where, right? No matter where.
It doesn't matter anywhere in the head tag. Yeah.
Okay. When you say it goes to the head tag, that's why I don't. You gotta speak to the 5-year-old developers here. Okay. So do I have to put?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
So the head tag has like the content inside of the head tag is there's the opening tag, and then there's the closing tag, which has the slash, right? So anywhere in between those, it doesn't matter like new lines or whatever.
But it's not changing. So that's why I'm wondering.
It could be that it's not finding this file. So can we look at inside your Finder?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Did you save the CSS file? Can you go into here, double click on the, oops. Double click on that. Is it the same file? Oh, whoops. Oh no. Okay, so this is not you're not editing the same file for some reason. I think you can just drag this into, try to drag it in. Or go in here and, yeah. No. Let's just do, I think we need to right click.
Didn't you change where it says style sheet?
It's okay.
What's style sheet?
What?
Oh, you did? Okay. No, this is the right file.
All I did was change the curve to Vodka and then the purple to green. That's all I did. I'm gonna paste that in there. Where's it now?
Did you save this file?
Ah!
There it is. Okay. You gotta save both files, yeah. You can just close that again. Click right there. Or no, yeah. Sorry. Where is the close? Oh, it's off of your. Is it off your screen? Yeah. Is anyone still working on getting the style sheet to load?
I can't get my style to show up.
Okay.
Is that right?
That looks good. Yeah, that looks good. So did you save both files?
Yeah, I think so.
Command S, yeah. And the HTML file? Okay. Can I see? Yeah. Wait, where am I? I'm over here. Oh, it's backwards too.
Yeah, it's weird how people have their. I changed mine.
Okay. Okay. So can't find this file. Oh, you misnamed it, that's why. Yeah. Computer doesn't know what you mean, unfortunately. You have to tell it explicitly. Yeah. You can just close that there. Yeah. Okay. Okay, I'm going to move on. So the next thing we're going to talk about is layout. So we have our landing page. Let me move it over. We have our landing page, but everything's just from top to bottom, right? That's the default way for HTML to display things, is to start at the top, right, and just work its way down. But what we're going to do next is we're going to build in some more like kind of dynamic layout, like you would as if you were really designing it. So one of the things we need is a way to differentiate each part of the page from another. And the way we're going to do that is with a div. So a div is just the generic HTML container So we're going to take the parts of our page that we've already built and put them into these generic div containers so that we can style them separately. So if you see any like site on the internet, well, I mean, they all use divs. But like, if you look at a site, you can kind of spot where the divs are because they're separating all of the different semantic parts of the page. So this is the old Airbnb landing page. So if you just kind of draw a circle around all of these pieces of content, they're going to be divs. And you can see like all these divs are inside this bigger div. You're kind of like creating this like nested box structure in order to hold everything. The way that one of the nice features of a div is it comes with a box model. So there are some CSS properties that you can give these divs so that you can lay out things more smoothly. Yeah, and so these are also like print conventions. Like usually when you print design something, you just kind of draw a bunch of boxes. And then they all have their own attributes. So it starts with the actual content, which has a width and height. That content has a padding and then a margin. So padding around the content and then a margin around that box. And then it has, and then it has a border around the content. And then you can style the border a couple different ways. Yeah, and then there's a bunch of other stuff. You can do the radius of the corners. You can do shadows. If you want to make the shape of the box a circle, you can do that just with this border radius trick, which is just to make all sides kind of like collapse in on themselves. Cool. So let's see what that looks like. So what I want to do is I want to just take like the semantic parts, all the semantic parts of our page, and split them up into boxes. So this part is like kind of our header. So I'm going to put a box around that. Oops. And then these are like feature cards. So I'm going to put a box around each one. Cool. And another thing I haven't mentioned yet is, you know, I'm indenting everything. The computer doesn't care about whether or not I indent things. But because we're talking about these like opening tags and closing tags, right? It's really important to be able to look at the code really quickly and tell what's inside of what. And the way that we do that is by indenting things. And you can see that this text editor gives you this nice line between the two elements that tells you like these things are inside of these two things. If you don't do this, the code is just like completely unreadable. Cool. So, let's see. Yeah, I'm going to go right into this. So we have our HTML kind of separated into these separate parts, right? So what that allows us to do is start building CSS on top of this. Because now we kind of have this section for our head. We have this section for our cards. And actually, the one thing that our page is missing is the footer. So I'm going to put one in. Oops. Oops. This is missing a closing tag. Okay. So we have a footer. Actually, let's look at it right now. So I put in those divs, and you can see that the look of the page has not changed. And that's because the div is like a generic HTML element, and unless you apply styles to it, it's not going to change the actual the visual output of the page. So we need, if we want it to look different, we need to apply styles to it. And so the way we do that in CSS is we have to uniquely identify each of these divs. And we do that with the ID and class attributes. So I'm going to start with the ID attribute. So I can just give it any ID, but I'm going to name it the way it, for what it actually is, which is header. So with this attribute, I can then select for it inside of the CSS. So this is another one of the selectors that you can select for. And the way you specify that it's specifically a ID is with the hash symbol. Right? I could write any word in here, right? As long as I'm like referencing the same element, it's whatever I choose it to be. So let's say I want the text centered. Right. So now I'm just selecting. I'm just selecting for this one part. So there's in the page here you can. So we can also do a background image. We can set it to this. This URL just gives you a generic random background image, which is kind of cool. Where did I go? Let's see. It's gonna look better if we apply the background size to it, which like kind of makes it look nice. Oops. I also can do some padding around this, right? Because this word is kind of close to the top. Let's see, 20 pixels. Cool. So our font is kind of dark. We can also actually, yeah, this is going to be the easiest. Oops. Actually, let's just make this a light color. Maybe this one. Oops. Cool. So we can apply styles directly to this one thing that we specified, right? And an ID, when you specify an ID in your HTML, you're specifying an element on the page that only occurs once. If you have another div somewhere else over here that also has this ID, the browser is going to get confused. But so what we want to do next is style all of these feature cards. So these are elements that occur more than once, right? But most likely want to style all of these cards in exactly the same way. So the way we do that is with a class. So we can give the class attribute to every card, and the same style will be applied to that element. And the way that you specify the class is with the dot. So I can just say like something similar here, text align. What else do I want? Padding. Cool. Does anybody have any questions about this? Cool. Let's see. So we're about to run out of time. What do I have just till like 2 or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
10, 15 minutes max.
Okay. So do you guys want me to, I can just kind of like go like show you what's next because we don't have time for all the slides that I have. Or you can just do what I just did. Does any? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Cool. So yeah, let's do. I think I can get through.
Do you want to apply the Bootstrap maybe?
Yeah, let's do Bootstrap. We'll just see how far into it I get. Yeah. Cool. So Bootstrap, what it does is that we're writing all these styles. We're writing them for all the body tag. We're writing them for the H1 tag. We're writing for the image tag. People at Twitter have just taken all this stuff and just written it for you to give you like a default baseline. They have a good website with a lot of documentation. If you just Google Bootstrap. And they've basically done like every single element. Anything you would want to like style a page, they have. Yeah, once you like see this documentation, you'll like recognize the Bootstrap styles everywhere because everyone uses this library. Like, it's kind of become the like default style of like small startups. So the way that we can do it is just to, all we need to do is include the Bootstrap styles, which is this guy, in the head. And just with that, it'll look a little bit different. Right, like there's some subtle things change, so already Bootstrap is applying some styles for me. But the way it really works is that you can take any tag and apply a class to it. So that's really how you use Bootstrap. So they've written a bunch of classes for you that will apply some styles. So if we want to turn this call to action into a real looking button, we can just do class BTN primary, and it's going to style it as a button. And so it's not just like the shape of the rectangle, right? It's doing a bunch of things. It's doing the text color. It's doing this hover state. It's doing the rounded corners. So there's a bunch of stuff in there. And so because you're just putting in these like words, there's also like a built-in naming convention to these words, which is, for example, on a button, you can specify instead of BTN-primary, you can specify all these other different things, and it'll give you a different color. And that's true of a couple of different elements on within the library. So you can say like, I think like form alert dash success, and it'll give you something that's colored green. Yeah. So you can add stuff to text classes, buttons. We already talked about that. List classes, if you want to lay them out horizontally instead of vertically. There's default image styles. There's like a bunch of other things. Yeah, I guess I'll just show you this really quickly. This is kind of like the other major feature of Bootstrap. The one thing that this thing doesn't really do yet is there's no layout, right? It's still top to bottom. So the thing that the major feature of Bootstrap is that it gives you the ability to like lay things out. It's what's called a 12-column grid system. And the other thing that you get built in with it is it's responsive. Has everyone heard the term responsive before? Responsive website? Yeah. So that basically means that when you are looking at the page on different width devices, right, it basically ensures that it's going to look good. You're changing the layout of the content to adjust for each width of the screen, right? And Bootstrap has all that built in with the 12-column grid system. The other thing that Bootstrap does is that by default, it's mobile first. So what that means is that if you don't set anything else inside of Bootstrap, the default behavior is to act as if it's on a narrow width screen. That's the default layout. And then when you want to move up to a larger width screen, then you apply that set of styles to it afterwards. The actual HTML. So yeah, let's talk about the HTML first. There's two things you need. It's a container and a row. Those are the like containing things. And then within that, you have the columns. So like I was saying, it's a bit confusing, but the columns are basically dividing the page into 12 equal parts. And you specify to Bootstrap which of those lengths of columns you want each column to take up. Does that make sense? So you can say, I want a column that takes up 1 space, or you can say, I want a column that takes up 3 spaces, or 6 or 12 or whatever. Yeah.
Just so you guys get the idea what it actually does.
Right. So if I want to, like, let's say if I want the cards to be side by side, let's do this. I want to build a container. Oops. And then I want a row. Make sure to close these. Whoops. Okay. And then I can apply the column class to each of these. So there's the calculation is that we have 3 columns. So if we want them to all take up equal space, we want 4 spaces per column. So the other magic thing is that if I change this size specification, this, when you specify the size, it says below this size or lay out the columns vertically. So I need to. I think this screen is too. Let's see. Hold on. Oops. Okay, so when I make the screen smaller, it's going to lay them out vertically. So all these layout tools are like the real feature of Bootstrap, the really useful feature of Bootstrap. Because you can combine these column classes in any way that you want. Like if whatever the behavior you want your page to have, as the screen sizes change, you're in control of that layout. You can like offset it, you can center it, you can like kind of have it like move around as you need to. Cool. I think that's it. Yeah. Does anybody have any other questions?
Do you have a final product that we could look at?
I mean, it's this guy. Yeah, this has all of the stuff in it. It has the header. It has, you know, these sections. Yeah.
So we usually this workshop is designed for 2 hours.
Yeah.
For Hubert, we have to cut it a bit short. Otherwise, we have the landing page a bit more complete. If you guys want the slides, and obviously you have the URL to the instructions, maybe best you send me a quick email, and then I can mail you. Yeah. So that would be.
I think this is the one that works.
Oh, okay.
Can I ask?
Yeah.
In the beginning, you have shown us 4 companies or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Who can do that, or can you say this again?
Yeah.
Do this by our own. What can these 4 companies do?
I mean, there's more than these 4 companies. There's like Wix. There's like, there's a bunch of them.
So, what exactly are they doing?
I mean, like, they're all slightly different. I mean, have you heard of Squarespace before? It's kind of like they just give you a bunch of default things, and then you just basically write the text. It gives you like you can maybe select the background page, but it's very fixed, right? It's like they give you a pretty narrow range of things, but that just makes sure that it looks good, right?
It's a plug and play editor.
Yeah.
You drag in elements, text box. Exactly.
So you can't. It's a little bit. It's harder. It's much harder to change things once they give you the thing that you already have. But they just kind of guarantee that it looks nice. Yeah, which isn't guaranteed when you're doing it yourself necessarily. You know, there's a little bit more that goes into it.
So here we have my email, hilge@levercon.org. If you just send me one line, I can mail you the slides.
Awesome.
Cool.
Yes, thank you.